Welcome back to the second day and second session. I'm Rajesh Gopinath, and on behalf of my colleagues and my department, it's my pleasure to welcome all the participants and our guest for today, Dr. Vaibhav Chate. Let me take the honor of first introducing you to our speaker for the session. Now, presently, Vaibhav sir is working as an associate professor in Department of Civil Engineering in KLS Gokte Institute of Technology. Sir was awarded his doctorate in 2019 from VTU Belgavi. He had completed his master's, that is his PG, from KLE Tech Belgavi. Sir has more than 8 years of research experience, and he is very accomplished in his academic experience of more than 12 years. He also has a fantastic consultancy experience. Now, when it comes to Sir's publications, that's one more step ahead. He has published several research articles in national and international journals of repute, and he has also been an avid contributor to several book chapters. With these a few brief words, I take the pleasure on behalf of my audience to welcome Vaibhav sir once again. Sir, your screen is visible. Now I hand over the forum to you. Thank you, sir. Welcome once again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank you,
for
sir.
the invitation. Good afternoon to all the participants. I'm very much thankful to BMS College for giving me an opportunity to uh, discuss few research topics in this particular session. Thank you, sir. So, sir, whether this PPT is visible, sir?
Uh, yes, sir. PPT is now visible, sir.
Yes, sir. So today I would like to discuss with respect to basic aspects that are concerned with the design of experiment, and later I'll be going for the potential application of activated material for the water treatment. Now we need to first understand as an engineer. So when was the last time, right, you ran an experiment? So you might be preparing a tea. That is also one of the experiment that you might have conducted, or say you might be coming to college by cycle, or you might be taking auto rickshaw, you might be taking a bus. That means you're using various methods and your objective is to reach to the college. Okay, so that means uh, in how much time you will reach, so with how much comfort you are going to reach. So that is also one of the experiment, right? So why I would like to discuss with respect to design of experiment in today's session is because whatever the research we talk, so it will be from known to unknown. So we don't know where we are going to land, so with our research. And when we talk about research, it should have some validity, it should be reliable, and it should be reproducible. When we talk about research which can be reproducible, then only we can think of publishing it in the very good papers or for filing the patents. So just to introduce the experiment, right? Experiment is nothing but a systematic procedure that is carried out under controlled conditions, okay, to discover the unknown effect. We don't know the effect, or we would like to prove the hypothesis to illustrate the unknown effect. So when we are talking about design experiment, it is basically a branch of applied statistics, which mainly deals with the planning, conducting, analyzing, and interpreting the control test to evaluate the factors that control the value of the parameter or the group of parameter. So I have used various terminologies in this particular definition. So it might be with respect to factors, and I am talking about group of factors. So we call it as interaction. Okay, I'll just introduce that. So before going for those particular terminologies, so why we have to go for design of experiment? What is quality? When we talk about a particular quality of the car, that means whether can we compare the nano car with BMW? It all depends on the requirement. Are we comparing with the sports car with the sports car, or we are comparing with which is the car which is required by a common person, and the car which is required by the sports person. That means the quality varies from requirement to requirement. It totally depends on the demand. So when we are designing the experiment, either it might be for automobile sector, or it might be with respect to synthesis of nanoparticles, or if we are going for nanosensors, or if we would like to make use of some waste material in let us say uh, uh, concrete mix or some other water treatment. In that particular case, we will be addressing something called as quality. Now, quality of the material we have used, that is going to have its own impact on the outcome, that is response. So when I'm talking about the quality, so the requirement is very important. Whether I'm going for production of some automobile which will give more mileage per liter of consumption of the petrol or diesel, or I'm going to have the requirement with respect to what is called as the attainment of the speed with shortest period of time. So it totally goes. So when we are designing, we need to consider the cost. The cost associated with the design of experiment will be in three phases. First will be R&D cost. If I'm designing automobile, or if I would like to make use of this particular nanofiltration membrane, okay, at the public level. So that means I need to pass this particular nanofiltration membrane through three phases. One is R&D. That means in the laboratory I need to test it. In the research and development project I should consider. Then I'll be taking this particular product at the manufacturing, because I should produce this particular nanofiltration membrane in mass, in large number. So that means what will be the cost associated with that. Then when it will be sold to the customer, we need to consider the maintenance, operation and maintenance cost. So always whenever we are going for any product, we'll be considering R&D cost, we'll be considering the second aspect is the manufacturing, and third one is going to be the operation and maintenance cost. So totally when we are talking about the design of experiment, we need to see that if I would like to reduce the cost, I should reduce the total number of the experiments. So if I have to prepare a car which will not have any defect, so how many experiments I should run? More the experiments, that means more will be the cost associated with it, either at the R&D level, manufacturing level, or at the operation and maintenance level. So we need to see that if we can reduce the number of experiments, so that means we are going to reduce the cost associated with the that particular project. If we can reduce the number of experiments, the time required will also get reduced. Okay, and also because of this, the labor required and product or the material that is required will also decrease. And apart from this, we are going to have the advantage of reproducibility, because ultimately whatever the work we do, so if I add say for example, if I take a half cup of water and half cup of milk, and if I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of tea powder, every time I should get the same taste. If it is not, that means somewhere we are compromising with one or the other material. We are not understanding which is a major factor that is actually changing the taste of that particular tea. So that means, and this is just a small example. Likewise, we need to understand which particular parameter is contributing more. If you would like to say that if I'm going to make use of GGBS in concrete, that means what is its contribution? How you are going to determine its contribution? So it can be done only through design of experiment. So we need to have brainstorming sessions and other things. So anyway, we'll be discussing in the next slides how we can do all these things. And next is to optimize the process condition. That means we have to generate some mathematical equations here, so that if I'm going to vary X factor by these many grams, Y factor by this, and Z factor by this, I am going to have this much of compressive strength. Okay, this is going to be its durability. Something like this we need to optimize. Then only we'll be calling it as research. That means if it can be reproducible, then only so we are going to call it as research. So when we are talking about experimental design or design of experiment, as I told, we will be introducing with few of the terminologies, what is called as factors, levels, interaction, and response. Remember, these are the four basic terminologies that are used in design of experiment. Factor, that means, let us say I have selected three materials, okay, to see that I am going to make a concrete cube out of it, whereas sand and aggregate, those quantities I'll be keeping it the same, but other three factors I'll be varying. So those three factors, those materials are called as factors. I'll be varying each factors by some percentage, 10%, 20%, 30%. If I'm varying it by 3, that means I've got 3 levels. That means each factor is varied in 3 levels. Interaction. Interaction means what? It is nothing but effect of one factor depends on the level of the other factor. Okay. Response is outcome of the project. Outcome means what we are going to get. So there might be multiple outcomes, but I'll be interested in only compressive strength. I'll not be interested in the durability. So outcomes might be many, okay, but response we have to consider which is important for us. But at the same time, what is happening to the other factors or other outcomes is also equally important. Now, let me take one example here just to convey the message with respect to importance of design experiment. I'll just consider two factor, two level here. So consider an example of treating the water using nanoparticle. I have considered a nanoparticle dosage. Lower level I have considered as 75 mg per liter, and higher level I have considered it as 750 mg per liter. The second factor I have considered is time. So here the time that I have considered minimum is 60 minutes and maximum I have considered is 600 minutes. Now the question comes, why minimum, maximum you have considered? See, before let us say time less than 60 minutes will not have that much effect, let us say, depending on the material. So if I activated some material and I am making use for treating the water, so for adsorption, not for photodegradation, for adsorption. If I am making use of it, then let us say I'll be making use of 60 minutes, not less than that. Maximum I'll take 600 minutes, because after 600 minutes, there won't be any removal. That means the removal of the contaminant may not be possible, or it will be constant. So more than 600 minutes, it's of no use. That means unnecessarily we'll be wasting the time, and because of this, the quantity of the water to be treated will be less. So to see that, we'll need to carry out some brainstorming session to fix the lower level and higher level. Nanoparticle dosage, minimum 75 mg per liter and maximum 750 mg per liter I have considered. So lower level and higher level I just varied 10 times, 75, okay, and 10 times of that 750 mg per liter, 60 and 600, something like this. Okay, so these are the basic things that we need to understand before going for the design of experiment. So first we need to have the objective. So what is the objective? So what is the problem? So that means, let us say in the nearby vicinity of the area, the water quality of the lake is not good, or the groundwater is not good. So that means to improve this particular water quality, I'll be making use of nanoparticle. Now brainstorming session has to be held either with your guide or with the known scientists, or you need to refer to what is called as literature papers to fix the nanoparticle dosage. Which one is a novel nanoparticle you need to fix? The second is lower limit and upper limit that you need to choose. Then comes the second factor, time. So lower limit and upper limit. Likewise, so you can select other factors like let us say temperature, steering speed, something like that. So in this particular example, I have just taken two factors and two levels just to make you people understand how this particular concept can be applied in civil engineering. Because whenever we talk about Taguchi method or whenever we talk about design of experiment, mostly it will be done by either chemical engineers or it will be used by mechanical engineers. So in most of the time, civil engineer will not go for these kind of usage of the Taguchi method or some other design of experiments. Just to make you people understand, I've considered two factors here, namely nanoparticle dosage and time. These factors have been varied in two level. The nanoparticle dosage is varied in two level, lower limit 75 mg per liter and upper limit 750 mg per liter. Similarly, for the time, lower limit 60 minutes and upper limit 600 minutes. What is that we are checking? We are going to check the response, that is the water quality. Now let me go to the next. This is called a coded design matrix. Okay, so instead of writing the lower limit and the upper limit in terms of number, that is 75 mg per liter and 750 mg per liter, 60 minutes to 600 minutes, I have just selected -1 + 1 -1 + 1. This is called as coded design matrix. Now that means what we have done is, now we are going to go for standard order table. Standard order table will be a coded design matrix. Okay, so A factor and B factor and response. That means we are going to have three column heading here. First column heading is A factor. A factor is nanoparticle dosage. B factor corresponds to the time, that is absorption time, and the third column corresponds to response, that is water quality. So how the standard order table will be written? It is standard. That means there won't be change. If I'm going to select two factors and two levels, that means I'm going to run 4 experiments. How I got 4? Okay, that means level to the factor, level to the power factor. That means when I'm talking about level to the power factor, how many levels are there? 2 levels are there. How many factors are there? 2 factors are there. 2 to the power 2. How much? It will be 4. That means I need to run 4 experiments. If I'm going to select 3 factors and 3 levels, how many experiments we have to run? 3 to the power 3. That means, right, 27 experiments I should run. Similarly, if I'm going to select, let us say, 2 factors and 3 levels, how many experiments I have to run? So level to the power factor, that means 2 factors and 3 levels. 3 to the power 2, that means how much? We have to run 9 experiments. So we should now come to one conclusion. How many experiments I should run as a researcher or as a PhD candidate or as a guide? How much I should tell my student to run the experiment? That means I should know that. So this is called as the design matrix table. Now I have converted uncoded design matrix to coded design matrix. Now how I'm going to write the standard order table? So for the A column, I'll be considering it as -1 + 1 -1 + 1. And for the B column, I'll be considering it as -1 -1 + 1 + 1. Response I'll be checking. So how to go for experiments? Whether I should go for the experiment as per the standard order table. So no need. So you can prepare a cheat, 4 cheats. You just write 1, 2, 3, 4 on each of the cheats. Just give the number. First corresponds to first row, second corresponds to second, third, and fourth, right, of that particular design matrix table. Now you ask either your friend or your colleague or your student to pick up those particular cheats which have been folded. So whichever you get the number, let us say for the first trial you need to conduct, right? So the person picks 4th cheat. There is no harm. You can conduct 4th experiment. You can conduct second experiment for the second one. For the third, you can go for the first row, and for the 4th, you can go for the 3rd row, something like that. But when you will be substituting the values, so as per the standard order only, you need to see that the values are going to be tabulated. So -1 -1 for which you have conducted the experiment. So for that, you have got the response as 3. So here -1 -1 corresponds to what? Lower limit. The lower limit of the factor A, that is for the nanoparticle dosage, we have considered is how much? We have considered it as the 75 mg per liter. If I am talking about B factor -1, that means time, lower limit is 60 minutes. Go for the second row of the standard order table. So that means we need to run the experiment for +1 and -1. That means +1 corresponds to 750 mg per liter of nanoparticle dosage and -1 corresponds to 60 minutes. The output that I got by conducting this particular experiment is 6. That means the water quality got improved compared to the first experiment. Third experiment, when I'll be keeping the nanoparticle dosage to minimum and I'll be keeping the time to maximum, I got the water quality as 5, which is less than the second row, right? Similarly, the last experiment I'll be running will be for the upper limit of nanoparticle dosage and upper limit of the time, and for which I'll be getting the water quality value as 9 out of 10. That means now I need to interpret these particular values. How to interpret the values? So for that, I need to go for what is called as qplot. So what will be done? See, either you can make use of RStudio software, or you can make use of Minitab software, or simply you can use a graph paper. If you are a beginner, you can just make use of graph paper. So there you just make a square box. Okay. On the x-axis, I'll be considering factor A, and on the y-axis, I'll be considering factor B. On the left side, I'll be considering as -1. That means x-axis if I consider, right? So I'll be having -1 to 0 and 0 to 1. -1 corresponds to lower limit, +1 corresponds to upper limit of factor A. Similarly, if I consider y-axis, so it will be factor B. So lower limit will be -1 and upper limit will be +1. That means as per the tabulation of the standard order table, whatever the responses I got, so that means I'll be just go on adding the values in the qplot 3, 6, okay, 5 and 9. That is how we are going to go for. Now for -1, I got it as 3. +1, -1, I got the water quality as 6. -1, +1, we have got the water quality as 5. And for the upper limit of factor A, nanoparticle dosage and time, we have got the water quality as 9. It's not all about now drawing or conducting some experiment and drawing the qplot. Now what you can understand by this, okay? What you can understand by this. Now here, I just plot. So you can draw this particular contour plot in Minitab software, or you can make use of RStudio. Okay, I'll show you the commands in the next slides to come. Now what is happening here is the values that I have substituted here. Okay, I'll just plot the contour plot for this particular qplot. Now how I'll be drawing the contour plot? Now see here, 5 is there. I'll be joining the number 5 on the x-axis, that is corresponding to A. Okay. Similarly, 6 I'll be joining on the other side. Okay. Similarly, in between lines I'll be drawing. Now, if this contour plot is having straight line, that means there is no interaction. If these contour plots are having some curvatures, as per Minitab or the other softwares I was talking about, RStudio, if you get the contour plots in the form of curvatures, then you should understand that there is an interaction between A and B. In this particular case, you can see some curved lines that have been plotted. So it indicates that there is some kind of interaction between factor A and factor B. As I was talking about, it's not all about conducting the experiment and just tabulating the values and just drawing the qplot. No. If I go on increasing the cement content, compressive strength increases. No, this should not be there in your explanation. Why that particular compressive strength is increasing? What is happening with factor A and factor B, and both together, how they are responding, whether they are having positive effect or whether they are having negative effect. So for that, you need to go for what is called as Pareto plot. Before going for the Pareto plot, I would like to show this particular contour plot here. Now you can see, as and when the factor A dosage is increased, right, what is happening to the water quality? It is getting improvised. Similarly, if I go on improving increasing this factor B, what is happening? The water quality is getting improved. If I go on improving or increasing or enhancing the dosage of nanoparticle to the maximum limit, and if I keep this particular factor B, the time, absorption time to maximum, I'm going to get a very rich water quality. This is how you are going to write the conclusion. Okay, so one. Okay, this is what I wanted to explain in the first phase. Now the second phase, how to go for development of mathematical equation by making use of Q plot, right? A very important thing, because when we talk about Einstein, he has developed one equation, E is equal to mc square. Okay, something like that. So we need not have to do that kind of work to develop that kind of mathematical equation. We have conducted some simple experiment here. For that, we have to conduct mathematical equation. Okay, so for that, what will be done is, we know that y is equal to mx plus c, right? So that particular formula will be making use. Okay, if I would like to develop a mathematical equation here, so first I should have the intercept or the baseline. How I'm going to determine the intercept? So to determine the intercept, what will be done is, we'll be adding all the responses. Let us say there are 4 responses here, that is 3, 6, 5 and 9. 3 plus 6 plus 5 plus 9. I'll be adding all these values divided by how much? 4. I'll be taking the average. So I'm going to get what is called as 5.75, that is the intercept. Then comes the constant value for coded variable xa. How I got 1.25 in this particular equation for the second terminology, 1.25 times xa. Okay, so for that, what I'll be doing is, I'll be considering the upper limits of x-axis. The upper limits of x-axis I have got is 9 and 6. I'll be taking the difference between 9 and 6. That will be 3. Okay, and what will be the difference between 5 and 3? It will be 2. That means 3 plus 2 divided by 4. Why I'll be going for 4? Why not 2? Because see, I have shown -1 to +1. That means 0 is missing here. That means I need to consider leap of 2, -1 to 0 and 0 to 1. That means I need to consider now another average of 2. That means 9 minus 6 plus 5 minus 3. The average value should be divided by 2. That means that is correct. Okay, if I am taking from 0 to 1 or -1 to 0, but I have considered -1 to 1. That means I need to again divide it by 2, and because of that, what I should do is 9 minus 6 plus 5 minus 3, okay, divided by 4. So I'll be getting it as 1.25 here. Right? So that means 5.75 plus 1.25 times xa. Now I need to go for the third one, that is the coded variable and constant value for the xb. For that reason, I need to consider now the upper limit of what is called as b factor, that is 9 and 5. And lower limit of b factor as per Q plot, I need to consider 6 and 3. Okay, so that means 9 minus 5 is 4 plus 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, so that means 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 divided by 2. Okay, again I need to check from which leap I will be taking. That means -1 to 0 and 0 to 1. Again I will be dividing it by 2. That means 7 divided by 4 is 1.75. So I will be getting it as 1.75 times xb. Third one. Now, is there any interaction between factor A and B? So that is a question. So I can go for either upper limit minus lower limit of A, or upper limit and lower limit differences of B. So that means 9 minus 6 minus of 5 minus 3 divided by 4. So I will be getting it as 0.25. So 9 minus 6 is how much? 3 minus 5 minus 3 is 2. That means I will be getting the difference as 1. So divided by 2, and since there is leap of 2, again I will be dividing it by 2. That means 1 divided by 4, I will be getting it as 0.25. Or you can go for 9 minus 5, okay, that is 4, minus of 6 minus 3, that means 3, that means 4 minus 3 is 1, divided by 4, again, okay, you will be getting the same answer. That means the last variable I have got is 0.25 times XA/XB. That means what? There is some sort of interaction between factor A and factor B. That means this equation is going to be now reproducible equation. That means if I am going to substitute some value, let us say I will be substituting the value of XA as 1, XB as +1. That means I should get value, predicted value as 9 itself. Okay, that means whatever the developed equation is there, that is correct. So that is what we will be interested as the engineer or a researcher. Now the second line to check whether there is any interaction. As per the mathematical equation, I have proved it, but by graphically also I should prove it to the examiner. If we am defining my thesis, so in that particular case I should show the interaction there. See here, the two lines are not parallel to each other. So that means if I'm going to how to draw the interaction plots. Consider factor A here. Take XY axis here. Okay. So Y axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, like that you can take. So here 3 to 6, if you join a point, and 5 to 9, whether they will be parallel? No, they won't be parallel to each other. This is what is shown in this particular graph. 3 to, right, 6 and 5 to 9. These two lines are not parallel. Similarly for the B as x-axis, if you check the plot, so again these two lines will not be parallel. If the lines are not parallel, it indicates that there is interaction. This is a command we'll be using in the RStudio. Okay, so I'll just explain what all these things. Okay, there are two factors, A and B, and they have been varied from -1 to +1. So I'll be making use of assigning the factors. So I'll be using this particular symbol here. C, that is a command I'll be using, and it is in the form of code, that is -1 to +1. So I'll be using it as small c in bracket -1 to +1. So I'll be writing that -1 and +1. It will be separated with the comma. Then what I would like to do, I would like to design by expanding the grid, that is A is equal to A and B is equal to B, and I would like to design this particular -1 to 1 of A and B factor -1 to 1, and it should be in the standard order table. For that I'll be using this particular command here. And what is the value that I'll be assigning for the outcome? So that will be 3659. So this, whatever the model I'll be developing is for the water quality. So I'll be developing the linear model here. So I'll be writing it as LM, and Y is predicted as A plus B plus A star B, bracket complete. It is. I want the summary of water quality. Then so this is a command to see that PID files are uploaded on that particular RStudio software. Then I'll be going for the Pareto plot. Now what is the importance? That means why I use this particular command in RStudio, right, is to see that factor A, factor B and interaction of A and B is positive or negative. So here we'll get to know that which factor has got a more significant effect on water quality. That is factor A. The nanoparticle dosage has got more effect on the water quality. The second factor is the B, and third one interaction is A and B. See here, this particular sign of coefficient, black color, is positive. That means if I would like to improve the water quality, that means definitely I should see that both the factors should be kept on maximum side, because all three things whatever we have got is in black color and it is going to be the positive impact. Let me consider the example. Okay, so here we have got three factors. They have been varied in two levels. How many experiments I should conduct? Level to the power factor, that means 2 to the power 3. That means I should conduct 8 experiments. Now this, whatever the work is going to be there, this is going to be more tedious. That means if you go for hand calculation, that means you are going to take more time for this. That means the standard order table will be something like this: -1 + 1 -1 + 1 -1 + 1 and -1 + 1. This is for the nanoparticle dosage as a factor. For the factor B, it is going to be -1 -1 + 1 + 1 -1 -1 + 1 + 1. And what about temperature? The third factor I have taken now. How the third column has to be varied. That means since there are 8 rows, first 4 rows will be with lower limit of the third factor, that is -1 -1 -1 -1. Next 4 rows will be with respect to maximum limit +1 +1 +1 +1. And again, you are going to conduct the experiment as per your wish, but tabulation should be as per standard order. You are going to get the pollutant level. Okay. Now, if you are going to go for the Q plot, definitely you are going to get something like this. Okay. Now, how to develop the mathematical equation? So we'll be using this particular command here directly. So since we have got 3 factors here, so in the command we'll be having one more additional alphabet, capital C here. But all these 3 things, 3 factors have been varied from -1 to +1. So again, same commands we are using, but here the interaction will be how many? There will be, since we have got 3 factors, there will be interaction between AB, there will be interaction between B and C, there will be interaction between A and C, and there will be interaction between ABC. So that's why in the water quality or pollutant level, so we need to form the linear model, right, which is predicted as A plus B plus C plus AB plus AC plus BC, right, plus ABC. Then you are going to go for the Pareto plot here, right? When you go for the Pareto plot, you will understand that factor B is contributing more and it is having negative impact. See, what is the outcome required? The outcome required is pollutant level. That means lesser the pollution level or pollutant level, it is better. That means here for the maximum limits, okay, if we consider we have got pollutant level as 2, that means we have reduced most of the pollutants here. So that means AB interaction is going to have negative effect on the final value. That is good. B factor is going to have negative impact. A factor is going to have negative impact, and BC is going to have negative impact. ABC altogether, if we consider, it will have positive impact. Just to give the example for this, so say for example, if I go on adding more amount of nanoparticle dosage to the water, what will happen? It may not allow the ultraviolet light to pass through it, and because of this the degradation process may not take place. Okay, so that means there will be masking of that. So sometimes we need to consider. That's why we are talking about optimum dosage. We never say that you should go for maximum nanoparticle dosage. We need to again fix there. So where it is going to reach maximum, and again it will come to decreasing order. So we need to consider that. Again, here you can predict the values by developing the mathematical equation. This is what we can do. Now coming to today's topic, that is now I just interacted with respect to design of experiment. Now I'll come to activation of materials. Okay, so bauxite residue is one such example. Red mud. Red mud is a highly alkaline waste. Its pH value will be greater than 12.5, and the industries will be seeing that. So this particular red mud will be kept in wet condition. Okay, because since it is highly alkaline, if it is blown by the wind and taken towards agricultural areas or the other things, the crops may get destroyed, or it is hazardous material because if the pH value is greater than 12.5, we'll be classifying it under 12 hazardous material. So the industries are seeing that this particular material is kept in wet condition, and for that they are wasting so much amount of resources to keep the waste, okay, stored. Now, in this particular methodology, what we thought is, actually this paper has got published in ASE, American Society of Civil Engineers. So this particular topic, what we are discussing is activation of the red mud. Now, if we are talking about activation, now we need to understand whether the activation has to be done for the purpose of treating the water, or are we activating the red mud for making use in the construction material? Now we need to understand, so we need to have the brainstorming session here. See, whenever we would like to make use of the red mud for construction, so we need to go for alkali activation. We'll not be going for acid activation most of the time. Okay, so we can make use similar to your GGBS, okay, geopolymer concrete, like that you can prepare the material. Alkali activation can be done. Okay, so here in this particular paper I am talking about acid activation. Before going for acid activation, what we thought is, since the industry is wasting water, because nowadays water is most important resource for everyone, so during monsoon we may not appreciate, but during the summer we appreciate a lot. So instead of now using potable water, why don't we use sea water, which is of no use? So most of the people will not be using that because it has got objectionable taste or salty taste. Hardness is more than 5000 mg per liter. The salinity will be more than 40%, something like that. So in that particular case, it's difficult to go for usage of the sea water for domestic purpose or for the construction purpose because of many limitations or disadvantages. So instead of now using the potable water to keep the bauxite residue or the red mud in the wet condition, we thought of going for sea water. So we washed initially the red mud with the sea water, and we checked the leachate, and there was no such appreciable change in the quality of the leachate we are going to get in comparison with the sea water as a influent. Okay, there was some turbidity problem, but not appreciable change. Then we have calcined this particular material and we washed it with 1 molar HCl. Now the pH value of this particular 1 molar HCl will be 0, so that's why we have considered that. And we have seen that it will be washed through the distilled water, and that will be bone drying to see that any other materials which can be leached, it's better, so that it will not get into the water. So since this particular southern parts of Karnataka or this particular Gadag area, if I consider more specifically, this is having more amount of fluoride related problem, and we are using reverse osmosis process there. And what we thought is, instead, why don't we go for this particular activated bauxite residue to see that this water will get treated. So we'll be targeting only the fluoride. Okay, so after the activation we got gel formation. So if you are from nanoscience or nanotechnology, you appreciate that whenever we are going for making use of either titanium dioxide or silica as a nanoparticle, we'll be going for Sol gel method. That means there will be formation of the gel here. See here, this is a gel formation. That indicates that we have prepared some nanoparticles out of it. Okay, now if I compare before activation what was the material composition in the red mud, and after activation what was the material composition, I'll get to know that the aluminum percentage, it got increased by 1, okay, that is 4.96% to 5.75. This is mainly because of dissociation of the hydroxysodylite, and we can also see here there is smaller decrease in the percentage of IR, 51.58 to 47.12. Okay, you can refer to the ASE paper in detail, the discussion has been done for this. Now, we need to understand the molecular weight and electronegativity of this particular composition of various elements, right? So, fluoride, when I'm talking, its electronegativity is 3.98. And if I compare with other things like iron, 1.83. Fluoride has got high affinity towards iron, and because of this, we would be we were in a position to remove this particular fluoride from water, okay, from Gadag area as well as from the synthetic solutions. So sometimes when we are going for the research, so we need to have the knowledge about this particular design of experiment. Apart from that, we need to have the knowledge about mathematics. Then we need to have the knowledge about the material characterization. Either it might be with respect to microanalysis, XRD, SEM, EDS, STEM. All these things are going to play a very important role in the research if you are doing the research by conducting the experiment. And at the end, whenever you would like to prove something, you should prove everything by chemistry. Okay, so that means why this particular material is in a position to remove this particular fluoride from the water. Why? What is that plus point or the X factor that it has? So we need to understand. Now, next coming to the experiments. Okay, once we activate the material, the next thing is we need to see that this material is used, and whatever the experiments I conduct, so they should have some validation, and apart from that, it should be reproducible. Okay, for that we have gone for what is called the Taguchi technique. However, in Taguchi technique, the mathematical equation may not be as accurate as surface response methodology, but Taguchi, when we talk, so usually we'll be determining what is called as percentage contribution by each factor on the output. How much contribution is there from this particular factor, that we can assess, and number of experiments we can reduce. Let us say, for example, for my thesis, I have considered 3 factors and 5 levels. That means how many experiments I should conduct? 5 to the power 3. That means I should conduct 125 experiments. Okay, but I have conducted only 25 experiments. I have not gone for 125 experiments. Here I have gone for only 25 experiments. Now, what that particular Taguchi says, that means what actually 99% of the researchers do. The conventional experiments involve varying one parameter at a time while keeping others constant. You please answer this particular question here. That means, are you going for this kind of approach? So most of the people will say yes, because most of the time we'll be varying only one parameter or factor, and we'll be keeping the other factors as constant. So that is going to now yield more number of experiment. To see that we are going to have the less number of experiment, we need to plan for some experimental design, either going for Taguchi method or going for what is called as surface response method. In this particular case, we have considered Taguchi method. So this method reduces the number of trials required. Because of this, the assessment of this experimental error can be made, and qualitative estimation of the parameter can also be made, and percentage contribution of individual factors can also be determined by you. It involves 4 phases here. Okay, so since I was talking about 3 factors and 5 levels, see here you can refer to this particular orthogonal arrays that is developed by the Taguchi. Okay, 3 factors, okay, we have gone for, and 5 levels. So that means how many experiments we can go. That means here number of levels 5, 3 factors, that means L25. That means I need to go for 25 experiments. So this is how we'll be going for 25 experiments. That means if I consider column A for the factor A, first 5 rows 1, second, third set will be for 3, and fourth set of 5 rows corresponds to 4th setting, and next 5 will be for the fifth city. Similarly, if I consider factor B column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So similarly, if I consider factor C, here we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Next 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Then 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a standard orthogonal table. This is again available on the internet, or you can make use of any of the textbooks which are corresponding to Taguchi technique. And let us say, since there are 25 experiments I will be conducting, now I need to see that I'll be running these experiments either manually by making use of Excel sheet, or I'll be making use of what is called as the Minitab software. First, I need to find out degree of freedom. Factor A, if I consider, I have varied the factor A by 5 level. What is the degree of freedom? 5 minus 1 is the degree of freedom. I'll be getting it as 4. Factor B, again, it has been varied in 5 levels. 5 minus 1, degree of freedom is 4. Factor C, if I consider 5 levels, 5 minus 1 is 4. That means if I add all these 3 degree of freedom corresponding to A, B, C factors, I'll be getting it as 12. This will be the degree of freedom for what is called as residual error. Or else, right, what is total? There are 25 experiments. 25 minus 1 is 24. That means now you check 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 12, 24. So in any way, if you check, whatever the degree of freedom we have tabulated is correct. We'll be going for determining the sum of square either by making use of Minitab software. In that you need to adopt Taguchi technique. So separate session is required for that. 1 hour is not enough to explain Taguchi method. Anyway, we'll be determining sum of squares either by making use of Excel sheet or in the Minitab software. I'll be getting these particular values: 396.81, 1010.6, 7.94, 4.74. All of together, if you add, you are going to get 1420 plus 0.13. Now check the percentage contribution of this. 396.81 divided by 1420.13, that multiplied by 100, you are going to get 27% or 28. 1010.63 divided by 1420, 71%. Factor C, 7.94 divided by 1420. Then residual error, okay, 4.74. Please make sure that this residual error should be less than 10%. If this is more than 10%, that means somewhere you have missed some significant factor, and because of that the residual error is more than 10%. That should not happen, right? So these particular 3 factors, whatever I am talking, these were performed under constant pH at constant temperature. So we have considered 25 degrees Celsius as a temperature, because when we checked the groundwater temperature where we would like to make use of this material, so there we found that that temperature was 25 degrees Celsius, and because of that we have performed the experiment at 25 degrees Celsius only. Okay, so here what we got is the percentage contribution. We can understand that factor B has got contribution of 71% and 27, whereas time, okay, some contribution is there but not comparable with factor A and B. This is what you can understand, and you can go for 3D graphs as well in the Minitab software. So if I would like to explain, let me explain figure number C here, B and C. If the factor B goes on increasing, what will happen? The fluoride concentration goes on increasing, right? So why that particular fluoride concentration is increasing? Because initial fluoride concentration, that corresponds to factor B. As and when the initial fluoride concentration itself is more, that means final fluoride concentration after the treatment will also be more. Okay, so that means they are interconnected. So similarly, if I talk about figure A and B, if I go on increasing the factor A, that is the dosage of the activated material, what will happen to final fluoride concentration? It goes on decreasing. So that means now we can understand that this particular The initial fluoride concentration, whatever it is there, it should be minimum, and the factor A, it has to be kept at the maximum. So because of this, we can achieve more adsorption process. If I compare with the earlier literature, our work 1.303, right, means the value that we have obtained for the fluoride uptake capacity of mg per gram for the activated material, we got it as 1.303 at pH of 5, which is more than activated kaolinite. So what we have done is, again, we took one more project, activation of kaolinite, and this particular work has been published in Springer Nature again. So here what we have done is, we have kaolinite. Most of the time when you are talking about powder and other things which will be amorphous in nature, that is used in cosmetic products also, it has been used. Now we thought of using this kaolinite, treating the water. We have activated by calcining it at 450 and 500 degrees Celsius. Sorry, we have activated it at 600 degrees Celsius. Then after that, we have added 1 molar HCl. Okay, we have given the 75 hours detention period, 5 times washing was done. Then in this material was added in titanium isopropoxide, let us say 3 ml if I am taking TTIP, 25 ml of ethanol will be taken, and 1.2 gram of activated kaolinite was added. Then we'll be stirring it, right, and till we get gel form, then we'll be using it for treating the pharmaceutical drugs. That means we have treated levofloxacin that was present in the water. So again, when I'm talking about the red mud that we have used it for adsorption, activated kaolinite and TiO2, we have used it in presence of UV light, because titanium dioxide, when I say, it will get activated in either sunlight or it will also get activated in the UV bulb. Okay. So that means what I would like to conclude is whatever the material we observe, it has got some chemical properties, and it all depends on how we activate. We need to have some brainstorming sessions done for this. And in this particular red mud, so we are going to we have activated this particular red mud using 1 molar HCl, and because of this, the sodalite and cancrinite phases got dissociated, and because of this dissociation, the aluminum content has got enhanced in the activated bauxite residue, and because of this, we got more surface area and more amount of fluoride ions were removed from the water. When I'm talking about kaolinite phase, when I compare with the raw kaolinite and activated kaolinite, so the some of the peaks that were corresponding to this particular raw kaolinite disappeared, and activation of this particular kaolinite enhanced the degradation process of levofloxacin, and some of the values of the peaks that we have observed has been shown on this particular PPT. And what we observed is this activated kaolinite, whatever we have used, it was 20% more efficient than your activated sludge process. Okay, so one of the Japanese scientists has reported that activated sludge process is of having a capacity or efficiency of 42%, whereas this activated kaolinite has got a efficiency of 62%. So that means the materials which we are either saying, right, or the waste that we are saying is actually not a waste. We have to have some idea, and we should think about those particular materials chemically, how they are and how we can activate those particular materials to see that. So first we need to have the idea about cause-effect diagram. Okay, that is also one of the important aspect in this particular research. So totally in this particular session, I have discussed with respect to design of experiment, and I have discussed with respect to how we can plan for the experiments and how we can develop the mathematical models, and how we can minimize the number of experiments. Because when I'm talking about Taguchi technique, I have not considered all the 125 experiment. I have gone for 25 experiment. That means we are planning for partial design of experiment. That means we are not gone for full factorial design. We have gone for partial factorial design. So we need to consider those particular aspects. And after that, reasoning is very important. Why the values are increasing or decreasing. So you can explain them with respect to your either interaction plot, or you need to go for understanding the chemical mechanism that is involved. So either you might be working in the area of concrete technology, or you might be working in the area of water treatment. Whatever the area is going to be, you have to justify the answer. Without justification and validity, that means it's of no use for the society. With this, I thank you for giving me an opportunity to showcase our research. I'm very much thankful to the principal, director, management, and all the people who are involved in arranging this particular FDP. I'm very much thankful to the sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And before I, extend the vote of thanks, I would like to, request the audience, request my fellow participants, if there are any queries, kindly do raise it. It was an excellent presentation. It was statistically started, and then using a Taguchi, I've gone into optimization. It is really interesting, sir. And probably, to be very honest, I have not much dealt with this. So it is a wonderful avenue for me also to get explored and learn this. And I sincerely expect that this is the opinion that most of my audience also would be sharing. So now I request my participants, kindly raise any queries if you have. You can orally raise it, or you can also type it in the chat box. Any questions, if anyone has? If anyone has any questions? Okay. Vaibhav sir, if I may ask you a question.
Yes,
So
yes.
just to clarify, because as I said, my knowledge is very limited in this domain that you have carried out. So basically, when you speak about Taguchi's method, it's all about optimization and reducing the number of trials or experimentations. So is this objective with the outlook of cost optimization, sir? Is it in that perspective?
We can think of, sir. We can think of, and also we need to say, for example, let me give the example, sir. Let me give the example. So without example, I cannot make anybody understand. So if I'm going for manufacturing the bricks, all the bricks that I am going to manufacture should be of same size without having alteration of 1 mm. So if you want to achieve that, that means you need to go for some kind of statistical method and design of experiment. Either it might be research surface response methodology, or it might be with respect to Taguchi method. So this particular optimization can be done. Okay, means if we are going to get the defects, more defects, that means there is more amount of error involved. So usually what the industries will be doing, sir, to see that if I'm going to go for more number of experiments, if I don't understand where the defect is, if I go on performing the experiment, then it's of no use. So which factor is significant and which factor is not so significant? Okay, so to understand this, first we need to go for what is called as a cause-effect diagram, sir. So before you select any of the factors, so you need to first have the brainstorming session done. So the first thing is brainstorming session if your objectives are finalized. So that means once you have a broad understanding, so that means, let us say if you conduct some experiment and you fail in that, but your residual error is going to be, let us say, 40%. So in that particular case, you will easily understand that 1 or 2 factors that needs to be have been missed out. That you will not come to know by conventional methods. So in the conventional method, you cannot find the error, sir. Okay, maximum you can do is you can plot some XY graph, and there are some error bars you can add, but there you will not actually come to know which factor is contributing and how much is a percentage. That's the first. The second is the failures, where actually we are failing, which factor or which interaction is more. If the interaction is more, whether that interaction is positive or negative. Okay, if unknowingly if I go on adding more amount of lime for stabilizing the black cotton soil more than 50%, it's of no use, because until and unless I understand that, okay, the upper limit I can keep it as 8% or 10% of lime. So that means some kind of understanding is required. If you don't have the understanding, if you have performed, by performing the experiment, you should be in a position to come to conclusion that this factor is causing some negative effect and it is not stabilizing the soil. So that means I need to reduce that particular upper limit of that particular material. So if I can conduct the experiment with number of experiments with a minimum experiment, definitely there will be cost reduction. And regarding your question, can we consider cost as the outcome? Yes, sir, definitely we can consider cost as outcome, and on that one also we can work. And regarding this particular quality, when I was speaking, so as I told, when we talk about quality, we need to understand: are we talking the quality in terms of money? Are we talking the quality in terms of strength of the concrete? Are we talking the quality in terms of, let us say, quality of the water? So all these responses can be considered depending on the type of the research that is being carried out. Usually MBA people will be considering all these things mostly because we as a civil engineer mostly will be going for what is called as strength aspects, or will be going for multi-response techniques. So multi-response, if I'm going to cast a particular concrete cube, so I'll be having various outcomes. Either it might be, let us say, it might be in terms of what we call is compressive strength, tensile strength, durability, water absorption. All these things will be coming. So we are going to have the multi-response table there. So in this particular example, there are 4 outcomes. If I consider geotechnical engineering, okay, so I've got 3 factors. Let us say I'm going to mix a black cotton soil with lime and fly ash. How the factors are going to be, I don't know. And what will happen to liquid limit, plastic limit, plasticity index, shrinkage limit, unconfined compressive strength, what will happen to the OMC, MDD? So many factors we have got here, so many factors and so many outcomes are there. In that particular case, if you are writing a thesis on that, so it will be difficult to relate one factors with the other. In that particular case, it's better to go for the design of experiment. But 90%, more than 90% of the researcher failed, which is universally accepted. And you can check any of the Japanese products, they will not fail in their quality. They will never compromise with the quality. That means they are going to fix the cost for that particular product. And if you check any product depending on that, so that means because why I'm talking about Japanese is because Taguchi technique, whatever we are talking, is from Japan. So,
Yes.
so that's why I wanted to highlight.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a very
Yes.
nice explanation. Sir, I had just one more question. Sir, you had spoken about absorption and I believe you had used titanium oxide. So is this chemical absorption you're talking about, sir?
Yes, sir. Titanium dioxide usually will not be using for adsorption, sir. We'll be going for photo degradation, because
Degradation. Okay.
titanium dioxide will get activated if and only if it comes in contact with the UV light, either by switching on the UV bulb, or when the water is added with TiO2 and it comes in contact with sunlight. But always under controlled condition means we'll be using the UV bulb either of 8 watt, 16 watt, something like this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for correcting me. So, yeah, I believe one of the participants has raised a hand,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Anwar Ali.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, yeah, participant, if you have any question, you may ask Weber sir now, or you may also put the question in the chat box. Any questions or any doubts that the participants may have, you may orally ask, or you may also kindly put the query in the chat box. if anyone has any other queries. All right. So I believe that there are no more queries from the audience. So let me take the honor of thanking Vaibhav sir, in giving an excellent presentation despite his busy schedule. Vaibhav sir, first and foremost, I would like to thank you that you're given an excellent presentation and enlightened most of us with this new concept and DOE. I'm sure that many of the audience would be interested to probably pursue this, and probably they would also contact you, interact with you to see how further this research can be corroborated. Now, on behalf of the team CTC 21, on behalf of my fellow coordinators, Dr. Deepak, Dr. Anup, my head of the department, my principal, and the management, and my beloved audience, on behalf of everyone, I would like to extend a warm gratitude to Dr. Vaibhav Chate for giving an excellent presentation today. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.